The fun thing about this movie, a lot of the movies, I mean, all the movies that we do, we have to see many, many times. And I'm not supposed to say this, but after like the 6th or 7th time, it's not super fresh and exciting. This movie, you kind of, as a viewer, you kind of get to direct it yourself, because the whole movie is a computer screen, and there's Skype and all different things happen on the screen. But you get to look where you want to look on the screen, and action is taking place all over the screen. So it's almost like you're a director of a live TV event, which is a really fun experience to have in a movie theater, and super unusual, I think.
Yeah, the mouse icon guides you to where,
you should look, but you don't have to listen to the mouse.
Yeah. Nelson, as a writer, what came first, the story or the execution for which you wanted to tell the story? What came first?
Oh my God, the story. The execution, I think we just finished about 2 weeks ago with the film. The story came first. Timur had the idea of doing a movie on a computer desktop forever. He has 2 companies, one in the United States and one in Russia. So basically, when he ends his day in real life, he just gets on Skype and spends another 12 hours on his day Skyping. I've been with him as he's directing a shot and says, cut, and looks down to me on Skype and says, doing a meeting. So he'd had this idea forever, and we were talking one night, and we kind of realized, oh my God, it's a horror film. And you use those limitations and restrictions of a computer to tell a horrific story.
And on paper, it would seem very easy to pull off, but it seems rather difficult. I mean, because there just feels like there are a lot of elements at play, visually as well as dealing with the cast as well. Can you talk about that a little bit?
We have had several editors, actually every editor we've ever had who looked at our project has said, this is the most complicated, horrific editing project I have ever seen. It was very difficult, both in production and in editorial. One of the other producers, Adam Sigmund, designed a very complicated camera system where all these guys could see each other and react to each other in real time. One of our editors, Parker Laramie, designed this insane post system where everything is its own element. And it's all mixed around. And
amazing.
You should talk a little bit about how you, or maybe the actor's experience too, about how you would actually, because I don't think it's ever really been done on a movie. I mean, you should talk about how it worked, but that you would do the entire movie from beginning to end. You would run through the movie almost like a play. Like, how did that work?
Yeah, I mean, Shelley, I'd say, deserves a lot of the credit for it. We were in a single house together, and we would do, long takes, 10-minute takes. And we were at lunch, and Shelley came up to us and said, hey, could we try the whole thing in a single take?
I was not trying to be cool. I was just trying to save my strength. I mean, starting from the middle of this horrific, starting in the middle of a scream is not that easy. So going from the beginning to the end was actually it was creatively liberating. I've never done anything like that before, and I don't think I'll ever be able to do that again.
Each of the actors was in their own room, locked away. They didn't see anyone else. They just had their computer. And so we did this take, and it was an 80-minute take, and we did the entire story. And at the end of it, they'd been trapped alone in their rooms for 85 minutes, acting and screaming and reacting. And I remember the take, and the take that we did the longest is the one that's in the movie, is the one that finishes the movie. And everyone came out of their rooms, Shelley's eyes were red and puffy, and everyone kind of looked around like, oh my God, what did we just do? Yeah.
It was so
awesome.
It was so sick.
But for you guys, I'm curious, just as a cast, obviously you can't have the director in 8 different rooms all at once. How do you guys maintain that energy? Because you guys go through ups and downs, and they're crying, and you're freaking out, and somewhere else you're like in the corner, also freaking out. You guys kind of have to rely on yourselves to keep your energy so high, so how did you... Magic. Love
Coffee, they call it. It was really, the long takes really help that process. It's very rare in a movie where you get to, start at one place and actually end at the end point. So, doing it in one long take actually that helps keep your energy up, and then you naturally dip when you just had this large crying moment. You can go back up, and just feeding off of the other cast members, that definitely keeps everyone's energy up. Like, okay, in box 3, Adam's going crazy, so that definitely helps, and just feeding off of each other's energy to kind of keep it going. But there's some takes where there's no energy.
How many days did you guys shoot?
I think in total, it probably ended up being about 16 days of shooting. Initial photography was 6 days, and then we did a pickup that was 3 days, and then little pieces here and there days after that. But
and all those rehearsals.
What's that?
We had a bunch of rehearsals.
Before.
Yep.
I think it's so interesting and great that big major studios, these are 2 movies in a row that are releasing movies competing with $100 million movies that were shot in 16 days. I think The Gallows was shot maybe less. And I think that has to do with technology and storytelling and the world changing, but I think that's definitely a great thing.
In addition to the rehearsals, how else did you guys build your chemistry? I mean, obviously you get a good sense of friendship. Did you guys hang out afterwards? Or
We rehearsed on Ubu, which is another Skype.
Yeah.
So basically how we all got to know each other was through the same format. Skype, through the rehearsals, and just spending so much time setting up the technology. I think this film has never been shot. There's no film that's been shot this way before. So it took a lot of trial and error to even set up the technicalities of it. So in that time, we're all texting back and forth and talking via Skype. So that's really how we got to know each other, and the chemistry that we built was just...
So we're very awkward with each other in person. Yeah, we're better at text.
yeah, we got a great text chain going on.
We do have a really solid group text.
The other thing that's different is, on most movies, actors spend most days in their trailers, and they call out and they say, all right, ready? You're gonna die, and got it. Okay, go back to your trailer. These guys were acting for 12 hours in a day. Every single day that we shot, they were spending the entire day together, which is not how it works on any other project.
No.
Did you guys find yourselves getting distracted while filming or while actually shooting, kind of texting each other on the side?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you're doing a real terrible job right now, you better have your game.
Well, I mean, what's funny is, Nelson encouraged that, because that's what people do when they're Skyping. They're not totally focused the entire time. So there were parts where I think the most of us would, get the giggles, and you would just exit frame. And just go and laugh on the side and come back, because there was no continuity. It was very forgiving in a lot of ways, but also challenging in other ways.
Nelson, talk about just the strong emotional threads you have to lay down for us to believe in the characters to make, obviously, the scares work. Can you talk, and obviously also too, guys, can you talk a little bit about your characters and who you are? Because I feel like this has really strong archetypal horror characters. They're well developed, but there's also, there's the cool guy, there's the comedian, there's all. So talk a little bit about your characters and also talk about, what obviously the audiences can expect story-wise.
Sure, well, where we started was, we knew we were doing something very different, which is telling a story on a computer desktop. And so, in order to have a frame of reference, so everything wasn't different, we very consciously went in and said, okay, let's get those horror archetypes you're talking about, but then let's subvert them. And part of that was in the writing, and a lot of that was in what these guys brought to it in the form of improv and in the form of personal things that they came up to us and said, hey, can we try this?
Yeah, Nelson and Timur definitely encouraged improvisation, even from the initial audition, just to keep it real and to one, have these archetypes, but then us have them fill it out with specifics so it feels real, so you actually believe that this is a group of friends.
I modeled my character after Samuel L. Jackson in Jurassic Park. It's a thick homage, and I hope it translates well on screen.
I got that. The first time I saw it, I was like, that is total Sam L.
Yeah.
Killed it.
It really comes through.
And who is Laura Barnes? Obviously, it's in all the promo materials, you see in the trailer. So, like, for horror fans, is this like the next Freddy Krueger?
Laura Barnes. Laura Barnes.
She's following me on Twitter, and she kind of freaks me out every once in a while.
First of all, I would encourage everyone here to find her on Facebook and friend request her and see what happens. But I think Laura Barnes is everything that's scary about the internet. She's all your secrets. You guys all out there, you all use incognito mode. You all clear your histories, and you all delete things, and Laura sees all of that. And I think Laura is everything that's scary about the internet.
Yeah, I agree.
Deleting my history now.
Delete Skype.
Yeah, delete your Skypes, everyone.